Good day, Africa, and welcome to another episode of Diaspora-Connect. On this show, we speak to diasporans who are either on the continent or in a foreign land, and we explore issues in relation to their contribution towards development in Africa. And we try to also encourage fellow diasporans to also contribute their quota towards the development of Africa. On today's show, I'll be speaking to Dr. Mungai, who I would later introduce him to you. But before that, we'll go on a quick break. When we come, we will go straight into our discussions. Welcome back. This is Diaspora-Connect. On today's show, I'll be speaking to Dr. Mungai who is an associate provost for strategic initiatives and graduate studies at the Adelphi University, and also a fellow at the Carnegie African Diaspora Fellowship Program. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ann.
Thank you.
Okay, so on today's show, we are speaking basically on yourself, your contribution towards development on the continent, and more specifically on your project in Africa to help solve some of the challenges we have on the continent. But before that, please tell us a bit about yourself and your connection to the home continent, Africa.
I'm very excited to be here and talk really about Africa, our continent that we love. So I was born and raised in Kenya. I was a high school teacher and then came to the United States for my doctoral studies. And when I finished my doctoral studies, I started teaching at Adelphi University, where now I'm the associate provost for strategic initiatives and graduate studies. My research is really on girls' education, something that I was really very much interested in because many of our girls in Africa were left behind. So my research was on girls' education and really believing that if we educate the females, then we really educate the nation. And so my research was on the girls and looking at literacy. I've also done a lot of research on multicultural education and reforming our schools. And so those are my areas of research.
Okay.
And very connected to Kenya. I go to Kenya every year because I really believe that even though we are in the diaspora, home is always home. And we are here for a purpose to really make sure that our countries are developing at the same time.
Okay.
Because if we look at the brain drain, there's a lot of brain drain. So if we don't connect with our continent, then it's our loss to our countries and our continent.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ann. So, so how did it take you to join the Carnegie African Diaspora Fellowship Program?
I was introduced to the Carnegie African Diaspora Fellowship Program, and when I saw their projects, I was really interested in making that trip, and I applied, and I was able to go to the University of Stellenbosch in Cape Town to work there with a professor. And what we were looking at, I was looking at the schools. I wanted to see really the schools in South Africa. And one thing that in South Africa, what I was surprised was the equity issues. That when he took me to visit a school that was mainly for Blacks, it was very different from a school for the coloreds. It was very different from a school for the white people. And so there's still, though South Africa is free, there was still a lot of equity problems in the schools. And that's one area I'm really interested in. How can we educate our children if they don't have access to the education like all the other children? So the access for quality education is really important. The diaspora, the Carnegie African Diaspora Fellowship Program is a great way to connect us with our continent. Okay. Because we are doing research here, but we want to see how we can connect with our diaspora so that whatever we are doing here, we may also look at what they are doing in Africa and make that connection, maybe do some research together publish together, write articles together, write books together. And for me, it was an eye-opening situation where I was able to see really the connection between what the universities are doing here and the universities are doing back home in our continent, in our countries. And the diaspora fellowship is really a good way to encourage us to give back to our continent.
Okay. All right. So on this show, what we really do is to speak to people who are really making an impact on the continent. So we look out for people who are transforming the home continent in one way or the other. So when we came across your profile, we were really interested about your contribution towards the home continent. And one thing that caught our attention was a personal initiative that you've undertaken to help orphans, specifically in your home country, Kenya. Tell us about this foundation, what you do, and how it came about.
So in 2014, we lost our second-born daughter who was graduating to be a teacher. And really, one of the things that we have always wanted to do as a family was to help Kenya. Kenya alone has 2.5 orphans. And we have been thinking, how can we help the children who we see in the streets, children who have no families, because we know education really makes a difference. So we have 3 acres of land, which was our inherited land. We took in 40 kids who were total orphans. We worked with the chiefs, we worked with the social services, the local leaders to look for children who either they were collected from the streets, eating garbage in the slums, or kids who really didn't have anyone. So we took the children when they were 2 years old, 3 years old, the oldest was 4 years old. And we built a house for them. They were living in a house. They were very young that time, so they had little cots or cribs. And then now they are grown up. So when we started the children's home, we also thought in terms of socializing our children. So we also thought of building a model school, because we really believe education makes a difference. So with the orphanage, we built a school in the same compound so that we could bring community children who are also vulnerable to the school, so that we have a model school where we can teach the children.
Okay.
And so our children grew up with the community children coming to the school. And now our oldest 10 children are at the university. And that's how we are giving to the community. It is difficult, it is tough, it's a love walk, because these children, you can't take in 40 children and then tell them you don't have money for food because you took them in. And you know, with our government, really, they don't help. You can't go to the government and say, I have a children's home, can you give me some money? The funding does not come from any government. So it is you, once you take that initiative, you really have to carry through. But when you think about how many children in Africa have nobody, we in the diaspora need to start planting those seeds back home. And we are determined to help these children until we see the success. And when we look at our children now who are now over 18, the oldest ones, you can see the changes. Children who came desperate, children who had no hope, now they have a hope. They call me mommy. I have 40 children calling me mommy. They call my husband daddy because they don't know any other parent. Children, we have one little girl, Anne. Her name is Anne. When she came, she didn't even know her name. We called her Anne because she was found in the street. She didn't know her name. She was lying in the street for 3 days, 3 nights, and the police brought her to the home. And so we have children who have gone through trauma, and we had to look for social workers to come and make sure that they are counseled so that they are out of that trauma. But when you see the difference you can make to one child, you really are encouraged to continue to do this for these children. So really, the children's home, I don't even like calling it an orphanage, I call it a children's home, because they are our children. we see that these children, they have hope. They want to be engineers, they want to be doctors, they want to be lawyers, and they know that now they have a future. They are no longer desperate. These children would not have survived. They would either have been in the streets or they would have been dead. And this is the work that we are doing in Africa.
Okay, that is interesting. And more interesting is the module that you are running. So like you mentioned, there is a school that is built on the compound that the children already live. So you have a system whereby other children also come from outside to the school, and then you have your own children here in the home that also join. Is that the model you mentioned that you run?
Yeah, because when you have a children's home, you don't want them to grow isolated. Okay. You don't want them to feel like, oh, we are orphans. You want them to socialize with other children. So we have a school from kindergarten to 8th grade. Okay. And then after 8th grade, all the children go to different high schools. And so once you isolate the children, then that trauma of always feeling you are an orphan will always be there. But when you bring other children, then they can have other children to play with. They get to know other children. They can go play on the weekends with other children so that they don't feel that they're just orphans. That's our model. Okay. We believe in integrating them with the community.
Okay, that is really interesting. But then anytime we speak with the diasporans, I think one of the challenges they do have, especially you've stayed outside of your home country for some time, so coming back to support your home country, most of the times people face challenges with even the rules, the laws governing certain things in those countries. Some people have issues with finances. What are the main challenges specific to your endeavor in your home country?
The challenges are always there, but what we did, we registered the home with the government. So you do all the channels that you need to do. Don't just take children and the government doesn't know you have a children's home. So you have to register with the children's department. We registered a 501c at home. We have a 501c in the US. And the challenges really is money. And I know many of the diaspora people, they would like to do things home, and even finding a person you can trust. How are you going to channel your money to another Kenyan, and then the Kenyan puts it in his pocket or her pocket? That's a big challenge for most people in the diaspora. How do I find someone I can trust with the funding? And so really, it's really finding someone that you know that if you are doing a project in your own country, the people that you are giving the funds to are really taking the funds and channeling them to the right thing. And with the internet, social media is so good that now even the workers that we have at the school, we pay them from here, because you can pay salaries from anywhere now with the internet banking. And so, and you know, Kenya has the M-Pesa system that I don't know whether it is in other countries, but that M-Pesa system where it's a mobile banking, and you can pay anybody. You can tell them to take the school van to the gas station, and you pay gas station from the US. They just call you and they give you the number and you can channel the money straight. So there are ways that you can make sure that your funding doesn't go into the wrong hands, because that's a problem. But raising money to do projects in Africa is always an issue. And some of the things that we do breakfast, we do dinners, we do walks for the children. And it's really getting a network of people who want to help Africa, people who want to help their own Africa, or even getting Americans or whatever, which country you are living with, people who have a heart for children. And there are many people who want to help, but they don't know how to help. So they just need someone to tell them, this is a project. They need to make sure that it's a real project, and people will come and support you.
Okay, that is really interesting. Here in Ghana, we do have a lot of orphanages that are trying their best to, I think I'm getting used to the fact that a lot of children's home where people are trying various strategies to succeed. And you find out that most of them here rely on donations that outsiders come to give to them. So there are instances where they complain that, oh, donations are not coming. So that is why sometimes if you go to see the children in poor or probably deplorable states, they attribute that to the fact that people are not coming in to donate. So in your particular instance, in your children's home, what specifically are you doing to sustain this so that you don't actually rely on locals coming in to donate?
We have a farm, so we do a lot of the farming. We grow our own vegetables, we grow our own corn, maize, which we call maize in Kenya. We grow beans, we grow potatoes, so we farm. So, and we're teaching the children to farm. You can keep a cow and get your own milk. You don't have to buy the milk. You can keep chicken. So you really have to sustain yourself in a way that you're not depending. And with the pandemic, nobody was giving anything. The pandemic hit everybody in every country, and even the people who used to give didn't give because of the pandemic. So you have to be able to sustain yourself in a way that you are not depending so much on people giving, because if they don't give you, then the children are going to go hungry. Okay. If you have a home, you have to really find a way to sustain yourself, especially with food, because food is a daily thing. Have your own farm. And if you have a farm, then you know the children will never go hungry. Because if you have the food, then they'll be fine. You don't have to buy clothes every day. But food is a daily thing. And so you cannot just depend on being given. And I think one of the problems we Africans have, we depend too much on being given. It's time we stood on our own ground and started giving others too. We have it. Instead of always depending on other people giving us. Let us be the people to give others.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ann. At this point, we will take a quick break, and when we come, we will continue with our discussion. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is AAU TV and this is Diaspora-Connect. On today's show, we are speaking to an incredible diasporan who has dedicated her life to help vulnerable children in her home country, Kenya. That is Dr. Ann. Welcome back, Dr. Ann.
Thank you so much.
So actually, it's been an interesting discussion. We've gotten to know your journey through the journey through the Carnegie Diaspora Fellowship Program and the journey towards setting up your own foundation to help vulnerable children in your home country, Kenya, and the fact that you've also adopted a very sustainable strategy to keep these children from getting back onto the streets and then making sure that they transition to responsible adults. So I think we are getting towards the end of our discussions. We would want to know, as a diasporan, what advice would you give to your fellow diasporans who are in the diaspora, who would want to come back home to help, or probably who have not made up their mind to come home to do something? Sometimes they attribute it to unfavorable environmental conditions. Some also attribute it to other factors. What advice would you give to your colleague diasporans?
So my advice to of my fellow diasporan is, like Joseph in the Bible, the Africans must give back to their countries. You have to give back to the society. This is a society that raised you. Some of their parents had to sell something for them to come to the US for further education. You cannot just forget your society. Whether it is working with the grassroots communities or institutions of higher education, you have to share your knowledge, especially those who are here with doctoral degrees. Share that research that you have done, make an impact in your own country. You cannot just stay out of the continent and really never give back. Because when you look at what you can do in Africa, you don't have to build a school. But there are things you can do in your own villages. You can take women in the villages and help them. and teach them or do some community thing that will make an impact. There is so much we can do for our own continent. So I would urge everyone in the diaspora, do something, leave a legacy that people will remember that you did something for your country. Don't get swallowed up by a foreign country and never remember where we came from.
Okay.
And that's my word to the diaspora. Do something. No matter how little it is for your own village, you will be remembered by what you did for the village.
Okay. So there is this local saying that even the sea, it still rains in the sea. So it doesn't mean that because the sea is full of water, when it rains, it doesn't fall in the sea. It does. So is there any special request you want to put out there in terms of somebody wants to support your children's home? Is there a way that they can contact you? Or is there any specific request to your fellow diasporans who would want to invest in your initiative?
Yeah, I would request that together we can help the children. We wouldn't mind taking more children if funds were available. So you can reach me at my email. My personal email is amungai1973@gmail.com, and we have a website, cwmf.org. You can visit our website, and there's a way to donate from the website.
Okay.
cwmf.org.
Okay.
And maybe I'll put it in the chat for you.
Sure. So I think, so viewers, if you are watching us, you can see the email through which you can contact Dr. Ann. Also, you can find their website where you can donate towards the children's home in Kenya to support these children, because these children, they are the future of Africa. Dr. Ann, any final words?
My final words is that our children need you. The children of Africa, these are the future leaders. They need you, they need us to support them. And we really have to make sure that we are supporting our children, we are supporting our universities. If you think about our universities, there's so many competencies that we from the diaspora can take back to our universities. We can develop technology competencies. We can help them with the data-driven decisions. We can train our students in the universities to be leaders, something that is not happening. Teach them to be leaders for tomorrow. Bring high level of research that will benefit the community and the university. And help even the researchers at home to find sustainable funding. If you work together, you can apply for a grant together and help the professors at home, the lecturers, so that they can sustain the funding for research. Teach our students to learn social responsibilities. These are our future, and we in the diaspora cannot just shy away from doing things in our countries that will help us in the future. Don't forget home. Don't forget where you came from. Home is home, and it's always sweet home. No matter where you go, your home is always home.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ann. Home is home, and we are glad that you are always home with us. Together with people like you, we can move the continent from this point to the next level where we all aspire to be. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Ann, for speaking with us on Diaspora-Connect. If you are watching us, this is Diaspora-Connect. On today's show, we spoke to Dr. Ann, who spoke to us on a lot of issues and what she's doing to help her home country, Kenya. Thank you for watching. I was your host for today, Schneider Kweku Ankuma.